What's going on, hustlers? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Cantave. I am a multi-million-dollar government contractor, an endurance runner, and a commercial multi-engine pilot. Today we're going to be discussing how to become a sole source provider of products / material for the Defense Logistics Agency. So if you like government contracting, if you're interested in it, or you're beginning your government contracting journey and you're looking for more information, you are in the right place. Please like, comment, subscribe, comment down below. Any constructive criticism is always appreciated. Without further ado, we're gonna get straight into the video. So what is a sole source? What does that mean? Sole source for who? Source for who? Source for what? Right? Let's break it down. So in government contracting, the government procures goods and services from a multitude of people. So a sole source is a product or service that can only be obtained from one supplier. A sole source purchase is a contract made without a competitive process because only one supplier can meet the requirements. So a lot of times people will talk about sole source in terms of service-based stuff and be like, okay, this is the only company that can provide the service. But you can also be one product-wise. So there's a couple of different kinds of sole source product contracts that you could get into. So some sole source stuff still has to be legally published, whether that be on SAM.gov or DIBS, or whether that be NICO or PROS, whatever the case might be, right? There's some of that stuff does have to be published, and then realistically the government publishes it knowing there's only one company that they're going to be purchasing the material from. And then sometimes, like in the case I'm about to discuss right now, the sole source stuff, it never even gets published. It's just a transaction. It's just an agreement between two parties, and you just kind of got to be in the know to know if you want to have your hand in that kind of cookie jar. So the kind of sole source where it might not even be published, and it might just be you make a phone call or you show up to the place and introduce yourself. Military base sole source contract. So a lot of people don't know this. You can sell directly to military bases. That there's a lot of money to be made in that, especially because you're not dealing with a lot of the same stringent requirements that you would in terms of like SAM.gov or DLA, PROS, NICO, etc., etc. Then you can also become a sole source by becoming the approved source for the Defense Logistics Agency on an item. So that's something that we talk about in our boot camp. So click the link down below if you're looking for some coaching or anything like that. But you can become an approved source by submitting a source approval request. Basically submit a package, and then you talk about like either your previous experience selling this to the government or your previous experience manufacturing it for the public sector, or you talk about, you know, if you've made something similar, right? So you can submit a source approval request. And then there's like these legitimate sole source contracts that do get published, and they're just published, listed as, you know, we're only buying this from one place. And then there's what we're primarily going to focus on today, which has been the bulk of my experience as a sole source provider, is it's published, like it's in the open, right? Everybody can bid on it. The approved source is listed. Everybody knows who manufactures it, but then you just become the preferred source to be able to provide the material for DLA. So a bunch of people bid on it, but DLA goes with you for a couple different factors, which we're going to talk about. I want to take a brief moment from our topic of today's video to talk about Lucy. Lucy is the best all-in-one government contracting software out there on the market. It's significantly cheaper than all of its counterparts. So let's take a look and see what some of the features can do. So if you're interested in this, click the link down below and sign up for a free trial. And then if you like it, you actually get to talk with the development team over at Lucy, and they'll walk you through, give you a tutorial.
Introducing Lucy, the best all-in-one software for DLA DIB suppliers and contractors. Let's check out some of the top features. In the market research section, search and find RFQs with various search parameters including estimated contract price, FSC codes, tech docs, ISO JCT flags, and much more. Click on NSN to open the NSN dialog for quick access to NSN history, approved sources, and more. Click on approved source cage code to view company details. And finally, add as many filters as you like and save your searches for quick access. You can save as many searches as you like with different search parameters. Once ready to bid, simply do one-click copy RFQ to your CLM bidding board. Now let's check out CLM and bid management features. bidding workspace will help you stay organized, track your bids, and speed up the bidding process. Now let's look at the solicitation we just copied over in detailed view. System recognized the associated suppliers were given an SN product and automatically placed them in the supplier quotes table, so we can go through and request quotes from all the relevant suppliers who were given an SN product. Once the supplier is chosen, simply select it in the product details section. Notice most of the information will be pre-filled in from the contract. Then go to the service details section to enter all other costs including shipping price and any associated labor costs. System will do all the calculations and show us the summary of our bid price, margin, and the profit at the top. We can also attach any relevant documents in the files section and take notes to track the progress of the specific contract. Once ready, simply place your bid in Dibs and change the status to bid placed in Lucy and move on to the next one.
How many times does it take to become a sole source provider with the method that we just talked about where you're pretty much the preferred source? In my experience, you have to successfully deliver and perform on a contract 2 to 3 times before you now have established yourself as the go-to guy. Shout out Guy Timberlake. He's taught me a lot. He's the founder of the American Small Business Coalition. Super great guy, super knowledgeable guy, but I just wanted to throw that pun in there, give him a shout out. You have to successfully perform and deliver on a contract 2 to 3 times. In my experience, that's been about what it takes. So if you win a contract once and then you see that there's another solicitation open for the same material, you bid on it, you provide it again, right? Then you can just literally set up an alert in any software. Pretty much any government contracting CRM or software has this feature where you can literally just like tag the NSN and then set up an alert, and then it'll pop up anytime there's another solicitation listed. Or you could just manually check it like once a week, right? There was a point in time where I would do that. I would just copy and paste the NSN from the contract that I won, just throw it in the Dibs, just see if it auto-populated, right? And then pretty much by the 3rd time, if you perform on it, by this point you should have a good relationship with the contracting officer. Usually it's going to be the same contract officer that is going to be procuring the material over, this short of a time period. And when I say short of a time period, usually it's 2 to 3 times within the span of 3 to 6 months. If you're performing on something 2 to 3 times in half of the year, that's enough frequency for a contracting officer to remember not just you, but your company name. Maybe if you have other people involved, right? Like the people that handle your accounts payable, accounts receivable, et cetera, et cetera. So what is the motivation to purchase something from only one company? If we live in a capitalistic society and we know that competition is good, it's fair and open competition, free market, right? What incentive does the government have to only buy stuff from one company? Well, there's a couple of different reasons. And a lot of people think that the government is just kind of like this entity that stuff is just like spit out of, right? It's like, oh, okay, we need to make uniforms for our servicemen and women, and that stuff kind of disappears. No, there's people on the other side of these transactions, of these interactions. And human beings, we know, typically like the path of least resistance, right? The more simple something is, the more ideal for us it is. Another thing that human beings really, really like is peace of mind, right? Security. Inherently, some people might have risk-taking qualities, but when it comes to finances, right, you don't really want to take any unnecessary risks unless you were to believe that it would provide you with, some kind of beneficial outcome. But for the most part, we don't really like risk. So people on the other side of these, government contracts, they want peace of mind, and they are willing to pay extra for that peace of mind, knowing that, listen, if there's 5 companies competing on this contract and your company has performed on it 3 times successfully now, another company might be offering it for cheaper, maybe even significantly cheaper. But the government is going to be willing to continuously buy it from you because they know that you are going to meet these requirements. The quality of the material that you're shipping is going to be up to their standard. They know that you're going to be willing to take the time to properly package and inspect the material. And then they also know that the timeliness of your shipping of the material is going to be up to par, right? So quality, packaging and inspection, and then timeliness. From my experience and from what I've heard from my conversations with contracting officers, those are the largest factors that contribute to somebody becoming a sole source or a preferred source in this instance, because the vernacular that you use is important. If, let's say, it's a public solicitation that's issued and it's supposed to be fair and open competition, you can't legally be considered a sole source. You're just now the preferred source because it has to be available for everybody to compete on, right? So how does it work after you've successfully performed on, let's say, the first 2 contracts, right? And then you're trending in that direction, but you're looking for some kind of indication that your company is about to become the preferred source. A lot of times, DLA will immediately publish another solicitation after you have successfully performed on the first 1 or 2. So I have a lot of experience selling inverters, not because I'm a inverter guy or I understand electronics or anything like that, just because I got a really, really good price on it and I've sold it over and over. And if we remember, DLA buys based on forecasts, right? Not based on what they need right now, but what they believe they're going to need in a couple months or maybe a year, 18 months, et cetera, et cetera. So if they know that they're gonna need, let's just say, keep the numbers easy, 50 power inverters, and the first 2 solicitations you sold them 10, and then the second time you sold them 15, and now they have half of their stock fulfilled for their forecast over the course of the next year to 18 months, right? Sometimes they will immediately publish another solicitation for that remaining 25 units. The contracting officer will email you and be like, by the way, there is another solicitation that's been opened for this. Can you honor your price and availability for this material, right? So whenever that happens, if you successfully delivered on something and then another solicitation immediately gets published for it, that's kind of a very strong, it is a very strong indication that you are well on your way to becoming the preferred source for that material. So what do you do in this instance? You want to kind of relay what the government has just told you in terms of your status as now the preferred source. You want to relay that to your vendor and you want to let them know, hey, listen, I've already bought 25 of these things from you. The government's told me, or it's public information, that they're going to purchase another 25 of these between now and, let's say, a year from today. And it just so happened that the solicitation, the opportunity to provide the government with this material, has recently opened up for another 25 units. Establish something with your vendor. Please let them know, because the worst thing that you want to do is just keep buying stuff at the exact same price point that you bought it for the first 2 times, knowing that you're going to have the opportunity to drum up business for this person continuously. So I like to pitch it in the sense of, if I buy, let's say, another 10 or 15 from you, under promise, over deliver. So whatever quantity is listed on the solicitation, I would always tell my vendor, I'm gonna, buy slightly less than that from you. So that way when I send them the purchase order or request the quote, and I come up with the agreement of if I buy another 10 of these, will you give me a better price? And then will you keep some of these in stock, push them off to the side for me? When I request an additional 25, then they're pleasantly surprised and they're like, it's 2.5 times what he told me he was going to be purchasing that first time, right? So establish some kind of rapport with your vendor, come to some kind of agreement, whether that be written, whether that be, just a handshake and a look in the eye, something like that. All right, establish something with your vendor and just let them know that, hey, the government's going to continuously be buying this stuff from me and I want you to be my same source. And you also now have the bargaining chip of because you are on your way to becoming the preferred source, or you already are, you can even go to other sources if your vendor doesn't want to play ball and be like, listen, I already sold this twice. The government's going to give it to me regardless. So if you don't want to play ball with me and give me a price point, I can just go straight to the approved source and be like, listen, guys, you might be the approved source, but they're not buying it from you guys. So you better sell it to me or you're selling it to nobody, kind of thing. And now you have a bargaining chip. You have leverage to be like, listen, this is the deal and I can walk away. And that's one of the most important aspects of having leverage in a negotiation, is the ability to walk away. And when you know that the government's going to give you that contract anyways, that gives you that kind of leverage to bargain for whatever pricing or availability you're looking for. And another thing that you could do, which I'm not the biggest proponent of, I'm 98% of the time I tell people not to do this, but in the rare instance that this 2% occurs, you could do it. We've done it about 3 times. You could just buy up all the stock from your vendor immediately, and then basically you just control the entire market, right? And then you get to pitch it or you get to bid on it at whatever price point you feel, and you know the government's going to buy it from you anyways because you tick those boxes for the quality, packaging, inspection, and timeliness of delivery. So you could just buy up all the stock on the market and basically just camp it and keep it in your inventory, and then every time the solicitation gets posted, you could literally just offer it at whatever price point you want. And if you guys remember from my pricing strategies and guide video, you're going to basically be able to increase your price every single year because of the concept of inflation. And then if there is no more availability on the market because you got it all, you can literally tell the government, hey, it's more expensive because nobody else is selling this, and we had to do XYZ to go get it. So that's some stuff in terms of like how to play the game. So that's my explanation of how to become a preferred / sole source in terms of product sales with the Defense Logistics Agency, and some of the reasons as to why they would even go that route in terms of procuring a product. So if you found this video informative, if you found it helpful, if you liked anything, if you liked the production style or anything, please like, comment, subscribe. And not only am I looking forward to your success, I'm absolutely sure of it. Let's go print those dollars.